Hey guys, we're back working on the 53 Ford today. If you saw the last episode, I'd been fighting with this mechanical fuel pump on the truck since I got it. And I've temporarily put in an electric fuel pump to see how it would work. It solved all the problems. The truck runs awesome now. So now I want to permanently install it. I had ordered some parts for the installation. I'm going to go over it, how I decided to do it. This truck is still the original 6-volt system on it. The pump I ordered was a 12-volt, and I had temporarily was pulling power from a standalone 12-volt battery just to proof it out. They do make 6-volt electric fuel pumps, but I decided, since I have the pump's working great, everything works, that I decided that I was going to go a different route and use a step-up converter to go from 6 volts to 12 volts. Off of the standard system, because I have no interest in changing the whole electrical system on this truck. I'm happy with 6 volt. It runs, it does what it needs for what I'm doing with it. So I'm going to show you guys the parts that I'm using. And then what I'm going to do tonight is install those parts. There's a few pieces I need, some wiring and things like that. But at least I can get the pieces in place, and then it'll make the installation a lot easier. So let's have a look at the parts that I'm going to use. So the components I'm going to use to go from the 6-volt system to the 12-volt pump are this guy. So this is a DC to DC step-up converter. So it's going to take the 12 volts from the battery, and it's going to jump it up to 12 volts for the fuel pump. So we're going to install that on the firewall. I've got a fuse block. So I decided to put a fuse block in there just in case I want to run some other 12 volt items, whether, if I'm going to do that or not, I don't know, but at least I have the option with this DC converter to this fuse block. Makes it really easy. If we want to add a stereo or something down the road, we can easily do that. I've got this guy. So this is pretty important. This is our relay. So this is going to go off of the key. When the key turns on, activates the relay, it's going to run the 6 volt from the battery to the DC to DC converter. And then that's going to activate, and then we will have 12 volts from the DC to the fuse block. I'm also going to put this fuse in line before the fuse block, so that we've got protection in that regard. And then I'm going to also put a toggle switch between the fuel pump and the fuse block to the fuel pump, so that I can, if I need to for some reason, turn the fuel pump off. I'm able to break that, so it's not just all the time running on the key. So those are the main components to do this. Now what I'm going to do is find a spot on the firewall. We'll have a look at that, and then I'll start installing these parts, and then we can see where we end up. Okay, so I've got a pretty good area here that I'm going to be able to mount the fuse block and the DC to DC step-up converter. I'm going to pull power from over here. This is right up here to the solenoid. So I've got the 6-volt power right here. So I'm going to pull it off of there. I'll fuse it over to the DC converter, from there to the DC converter, and then we'll be able to get our 12 volts at that, and then we can pull 12 volts off of that fuse block for anything we need. Now that DC converter is only good for 10 amps, so we can't get really crazy on it, but if I do want to get a larger DC step-up converter, I can do that after. So anyways, let's get to putting parts in place. So the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to crawl under here, have a look at where I'm going to mount this, and make sure I'm not drilling through anything important, like wires or, well, it won't be anything else really. So I just got to check. It looks pretty clear on the back side there, so I'll just make sure that that I'm clear before I drill, and then I'm going to put my screws in, and we'll secure my components. Okay, so here's where we got to tonight. We got the fuse box installed. We got the DC to DC step-up converter installed. I've also got the fuel pump. You can see here, I've got this wired in, and we mounted the fuel pump underneath on the frame rail. So that's installed and all wired. What we did here is we broke this cable consistency through over here through the toggle switch. So we just put this toggle switch in line with that wire and then fed another wire back down to the fuel pump. So I can turn on the fuel pump or turn off the fuel pump. When the key switch is turned on and this is up, the fuel pump will run all the time. So the reason I put this in is in case we're having a hard time starting the vehicle or it's flooding, I can just kill the fuel pump like that, even with the key switch on as we're cranking it over to run. And then once it fires up, then I can kick the fuel pump back on and we're good to go. Probably shouldn't need that, but it's better to have it there and not need it than the other way around. So I still have to install the relay, which is going to run from the key. I might install it here. I'm debating if I'm going to install it on this side of the cab or if I'm going to go put it over over there close to the solenoid where we're pulling the power from. I think it's 6 of one, half dozen another. It's just depending on what leg of wire I want to run. If I want to run longer wire from the key switch to this, or if I want to run longer wire from the solenoid to this. And I don't really think it makes much of a difference. You can see here we've got a 40 amp relay, so it can handle quite a bit. This little guy is only good for 10 amps. And I think the fuel pump runs at about 2 amps. So we do have a little bit of headroom on it, but I could see down the road if we wanted to put a stereo or something in it, that we would have to up that to support a little bit more amps. But anyways, yeah, that's where we got to tonight. Pretty good progress. We got all the dirty stuff underneath done. So I've just got to pick up a couple more connectors from the office tomorrow. This guy's going to hook up right here. That's our main power. So that'll be our 12 volt. And then this black wire is our ground here. So we've got to extend it and then just get a slightly larger connector than I have currently at the house. And then these two guys are gonna go and run to, one's gonna run the negative's gotta run to the ground side of that solenoid. And then the positive's gotta run to the side of the relay. So that's where we're at. I'm gonna call her a night because I still have work to do for my company, which ironically is designing modern electric vehicles compared to this. But the cool thing with working on these old vehicles is just seeing how simple they are, and it kind of still gives me some inspiration to keep the electric vehicles simple as well. So anyways, that's where we are, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks. Oh, and one last thought I thought I'd throw in. If I can give any advice when working on this kind of stuff, is if you can leave your workspace tidy so that you're ready to come back the next day. It's a lot more encouraging when you come back to work on these projects when your stuff's all put together in the right spot. So anyways, okay, now I'm done and we'll see you next episode. Thanks guys, see ya.